Despite economic hardship, Wike allocates 10 billion naira for rent furniture to Akpabio, Tajuddin, and two others. The presiding officers of the National Assembly, Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, and their deputies, Barau Jibrin and Ben Kalu, were allocated 10 billion naira for rent and furniture in the 2024 supplementary budget of the FCT. Premium Times investigation reveals. The budget item titled Renting and Furnishing of Presiding Officers of the National Assembly has the classification code 23010-309 in the 288 billion naira supplementary budget President Bola Tinubu transmitted to the National Assembly in December, which was passed within 5 days by the lawmakers. Under Nigeria's bicameral legislative system, there are four presiding officers of the National Assembly: the Senate President, the Speaker, the Deputy Senate President, and the Deputy Speaker. These four are the latest Nigerian government officials to receive lavish accommodation allowances on new housing projects from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, whose generosity in the last 15 months includes 21 billion naira residential mansion for Vice President Kashim Shettima. The Abuja minister also allocated 25 billion naira for the construction of houses for 40 judges. With the planned rent and furniture budget, Mr. Wike appears to have extended his generosity across the three arms of government: executive, judiciary, and legislature. The allocations come amidst the current economic hardships in Nigeria, which experts believe is due to the government's policies of deregulation of the petroleum downstream sector and the devaluation of the naira. Within the last 3 weeks, dozens of Nigerians have died in stampedes while trying to collect food items. The current administration has continued what many describe as lavish spending, while preaching austerity measures for most Nigerians. Some of these expenditures include a $100 million presidential jet, the botched presidential yacht, luxurious sport utility vehicles for members of the National Assembly, and others. Wike has in the past been accused of using some of this general spending of institutions as a subtle means of compromising them, but he has denied the allegations. According to Section 299 of the 1999 Constitution, the President is the governor of the FCT, while the National Assembly serves as its legislative arm. Also, Section 302 of the Constitution gives the President the power to appoint someone as the Minister of the FCT to act on his behalf. Wike, a prominent member of the opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, was appointed by the President Tinubu in what observers believe is a reward for the role of former Rivers State Governor that was played during the presidential election in 2023. The Federal Capital Development Authority owns several public buildings in the FCT, including the National Assembly Complex and other structures, through Department of Public Buildings. Some of these buildings the department lists on its website include the Supreme Court Complex, the Presidential Complex, the Federal Ministry Building, the Assembly Complex, among others. In 2022, the FCT spent over 42 billion naira to renovate part of the National Assembly Complex, despite public outrage by Nigerians over the expenditure. In the past, members of the National Assembly, including the four presiding officers, had their accommodations at the legislative headquarters located in the Apu area of Abuja. However, the buildings were sold under the monetization policy that started under Olusegun Obasanjo's administration. Initially, all the buildings were sold except those for the presiding officers. In the 6th Assembly, under the Musa Yar'Adua administration, the buildings were sold to the four presiding officers: Senate President David Mark, Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, Speaker of the House of Representatives Dimeji Bankwele, and Deputy Speaker Bayero Nafada. In 2011, the government opted to build new houses for the presiding officers on the outskirts of the city in Katampe extension behind the Lungi barracks. However, the lawmakers reportedly rejected the offer. Later, the Goodluck Jonathan administration started another project just for the four presiding officers. The project is located within the 3-arm zone, very close to the main gate of the National Assembly. For years, construction on the building has stalled despite several deadlines. Despite this, Premium Times learned that the government has resorted to renting houses for all the presiding officers of the National Assembly since 2011. According to sources, Senate President Godswill Akpabio lives in a rented apartment in Maitama, a highborough area of Abuja, while the Speaker lives in the Gozape district. Wike, in a letter dated 11th of September and addressed to President Tinubu, requested additional spending of 288 billion naira as a supplementary budget for the FCT. He listed some of the projects the funds are meant for. Under the capital component, the supplementary budget contains a total of 32 projects. The purpose of this letter is to seek the approval of Your Excellency for the second supplementary budget presentation to the National Assembly, a supplementary budget to the 2024 Statutory Appropriation Act of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, in the sum of 288 billion naira, necessitated with a view to accommodate additional inflows from internally generated revenue and miscellaneous revenues in the sums of 8 billion naira and 280 billion naira, respectively, Mr. Wike said in the letter. The request by the minister was approved by the President, who subsequently transmitted the supplementary budget to the National Assembly for approval. This request was approved by the lawmakers and passed. Of the 32 projects, 22 were existing ones that received additional funding, while 10 new projects were introduced into the SAT budget. For instance, the 25 billion naira earmarked for the construction of houses for judges got an additional 5 billion, increasing the budget's allocation to 30 billion naira. In addition to the legislature, the FCT also allocated 20 billion naira for the renovation of the State Security Service headquarters in Abuja. Well, what are your opinions on this? Make sure to leave them in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure to turn on notifications so you can be notified when we upload daily content here on this channel. And make sure to share this video with your family and friends so that they know what is going on and they can give their own opinions on this.